Welcome back to Still Part of Us. We are so excited to chat today with Katy. She is a fellow lost mom, and I'm just so pleased to chat with her because she is a really, really recent lost mom. And so I love talking to others who have gone through this path and are still treading through it like us and talking about some advice that would be helpful for others. So, Katy, welcome again. And can you tell us a little bit about your Everly? And just how long ago did she pass away?
Yes, so my daughter Everly was stillborn at 40 weeks. We found out she had passed actually on her due date. This was just shy of a year ago. Her birthday is actually about a week and a half
Yeah.
away, so coming
So
up on the year mark.
yeah. I'm so sorry. It just is so so rough. I actually didn't if you guys get a chance, I would highly recommend listening to Katie's birth story of Everly. It's really lovely. There were some really nice things that they were able to do and spending time with her, making the memories. So I would highly recommend listening to her story and her big impact. Katy, I forgot to ask you actually. Are you guys planning on doing anything for her birthday? Like, do you guys have any plans yet?
So we do not have any definitive plans yet. I think there's always the expectation of the
Mhm.
first birthday doing something like big
Mhm.
and I just don't think that we're in that place to do that.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to, obviously spend time with her at her gravesite. I plan on making same cake that we had with her and celebrated with her in the hospital.
Mhm.
So that's really the only plans that we have so far. Just kind of gonna take it
Take it.
take it as it comes. I feel like a lot of times the anticipation of certain events like this is worse than the actual days. So I'm just
Yeah.
trying to kind of stay in the moment and go with it.
That was actually the best advice that somebody gave us is like, don't have too many things planned because things could go to pot. Like you could just be a complete wreck. And that's actually has helped us every single year that as we've celebrated. So I sounds like you've got a good little plan there.
Yeah.
So Katie and I were talking beforehand about like what she would like to talk about. And she actually had some pretty awesome points about supporting those who have lost a baby. And I would love to jump into that. Katie, are you ready to chat about some of those things that are some good bits of advice to help others?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the focus is always on the lost parents
Mhm.
and support for them. But a lot of people don't remember that, there's people supporting the lost parents
Yeah.
and they don't know what to do either.
Yeah.
So I think, providing them some advice on things that they can do to help support lost parents is very much needed. So I hope
Yes.
that this advice will help some people out there.
Yeah, I'm sure it will because you'd be surprised at how many people like, "What should I do?" And I was like, "Oh, we have thoughts." So, okay, do you wanna go ahead and, tell me what your first bit of advice is?
Yeah, so my first bit of advice would be to, learn as much as you can about stillbirth and pregnancy and infant loss.
Yeah.
Try to learn, what we're going through and what emotions and what things you might expect to see your loved one go through. I mean, sadly and really shockingly in this era, this day and age, like this isn't a rare event. It happens way too much, more than you'd like to know. I think the statistic is like 23,000 babies die every year of
Which is
stillbirth.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane. So, I mean, it's likely that everybody knows somebody who has gone through this or supported somebody through this.
Mhm.
People just might not talk about it. I think things are changing in that regard, which is very good. But I would reach out to other lost parents or other support people who've gone through this, to learn what things are going to happen and what you may need to do to support lost parents. You can listen to podcasts like this one, to hear people's stories and to just hear the pain, from a non-personalized subject, not your loved one. It may may help you gain insight on how your loved one may be feeling. And you can reach out. There's so many support organizations,
Yeah.
around the US now, and you can get advice from them on how you can support your loved one through this. Like, there's so many resources out there now, which is so, so great, but people need to use them. And
Yeah.
I feel like there should be, no excuse to not be able to learn about what's going on.
Yeah. Because there's so much out there. And I want to point out, like, it's so true. When we had our loss, it felt like all these people came out of the woodwork that had a loss, and we just had no clue. And so it happens more than you think it does. And just learning a little bit about it, we want to be a resource for people. That's why we started this channel and podcast. But there are tons of other people out there doing some amazing work, or writing things, or talking about things in organizations. So I completely agree with you on this. Like, just learn a little bit more. There's plenty out there nowadays,
Yeah.
I feel like. So that is awesome. So, okay, what's another bit of advice that you would recommend?
Yes. Another bit of advice is, being a support person is a full-time job.
Mm.
There's no playbook on how to do this.
Yeah.
So you have to witness it. You have to know that you're not going to be able to fix the situation. You're not going to make it better. There's nothing you can say that's going to make us feel better, but you can embrace the situation. Be aware, know what happened. I think a lot of times, in my case, I feel like a lot of people still don't know exactly what happened. They don't ask.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think it's important, for people to understand what happened and what we went through. What's lost. I mean, it can't be restored. There's no going back. You need to, acknowledge, this sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks big time. And, you just have to let the person know, like, you're here for them. You're not judging them. They need somebody who can see their grief, somebody to hold their hand, to support what they want to do and how they want to grieve. They
Yeah.
want to take down the nursery, fine. You want to keep the nursery up, fine. Like,
Yeah.
whatever they need to do to get through this, you need to support that. And just be present, like, give them an outlet to talk, to get out whatever we're feeling. I know it's a roller coaster. Some days are better than others, and but you need to sit with somebody in their grief. You don't have to have had a loss yourself to
Yeah.
be able to sit with somebody in their grief.
Oh, that was like a mic drop moment, I think. Like, seriously, you don't have to have, like, people just don't feel like that they're up for it. Sometimes they're like, it's uncomfortable, right? Like, it's so uncomfortable, but you're like, you're human. Like, life sucks sometimes. And this is really super sucky thing that has happened to your friend. And just being there. And I remember times when people would just are cool with just sitting there and holding my hand and letting me cry and make stupid jokes when I was trying to laugh. And, however, like you said, if they want to take down the nursery, great. If they don't want to take down the nursery, great. Don't judge them. They're trying to process this as they go. And I like how you said there's no playbook. So there's no playbook.
Yeah. I
Everybody,
mean,
like,
there's no playbook for us either.
yeah,
So,
we have no clue what we're doing. We're just trying to figure it out ourselves. So,
yeah.
oh, yeah, that was so good. Yeah, don't be okay just sitting with them in their grief. You don't have to you don't have to have felt the loss or have experienced the loss yourself. So, thank you. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
Well, remember, I forget where I heard this, but somebody said, like, you gotta buckle up, jump in, and just do it. If you're gonna support somebody, you can't just, wake up one day each month and be like, oh, I'm gonna check in on that person today. You need to make it a point to do it every day. Make yourself available, to them and their recovery. Like I just said, I mean, a lot of times we don't know what we need,
Mhm.
you know, in that moment. Every day is different, but you need somebody who can be there, like, in that uncertainty and to join you.
Yeah.
in that uncertainty. You know, you're not going to say the right things all the time because anything and everything can be triggering. You
Yeah.
just never know. Again, no playbook.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Not at all.
and this is probably like my biggest thing is to throw the word should out the window.
Mm.
Don't tell lost parents what they should be doing or what they should be grateful for. It just like invalidates your feelings and what has happened. It imparts feelings of, blame, shame, guilt,
Yeah.
judgment,
Yeah.
inadequacy, you know, feelings that we already have more than enough of. And we don't need any more reasons to feel this way.
Yeah. Like should is so yeah, there's like so much implication in that. And I yeah, there was a couple times and I don't know if I'm sure you experienced this is why you wanted to talk about this is that like there was I remember somebody had said something to in regards to my husband actually like, "Oh, shouldn't he be feeling okay by now? Like he should just be getting up and doing stuff now." And I was like, "He just lost his son." Did you have an experience, Katie, that you
Yeah, I mean, I've had many,
Yeah.
but even like little things like I had mentioned, I forget in passing, but we're getting ready to redo our a kitchen
Yeah,
remodel,
mhm.
right? And somebody says, "Oh, well, you should be grateful that you have a kitchen to remodel." I'm like, "Don't don't tell me what I should be grateful for." Like,
Yeah.
I lost my daughter. We're in a house that we probably wouldn't have been in, if our daughter was still alive. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
don't tell
amazing.
me
You're
I should be
just
grateful for this.
yeah, you're just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Or
Be
just
really
like things
yeah.
that you should be doing, like,
Mhm.
you should be having a big birthday party or you should have a service or a ceremony and
You don't have to do anything.
yeah. Yeah.
And yes, I agree. Don't the word should is pretty loaded. Like it really does conjure up a lot of like guilt. Like there's like this underlying shadow, like a little shawl of guilt when you say should, I think. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's something that I never really thought about that word until
Mhm.
this had happened to me. But I mean, even before, if you think about it, like the word should
In any
does that.
situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah, because you're like, "Oh, yeah, I should be doing this," and you're like, I don't yeah, it's not it doesn't have good feelings. You
Right.
shouldn't should all over yourself. I've heard somebody
Yeah.
say that before. I'm like,
Yeah. So I've tried to like not use that word ever anymore.
I think it's a good practice. Like, I
Yeah.
agree. What are some other things that you wanted to point out?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that, lost moms tend to shut out. I
Mm,
know
mm,
I did, and
yeah,
sometimes I still do, like, even to this day.
yeah,
I felt like a complete failure, after this had happened, and I still oftentimes blame myself for what had happened, even though logically I know there was nothing I could have done to prevent this, but I still blame myself. And sometimes I don't wanna see anybody. I don't wanna talk to anybody, and it just makes you question, like, so much about life.
yeah,
Going through this is so unbelievably lonely, I would say. It feels like you're on a desert island sometimes, all by yourself.
mhm,
I think that's why it's so important to constantly check in with somebody you're supporting, even if they turn you away, even if they don't respond to your text messages, like, keep showing up. That's what they need. They need to know that you're there. And I would also say, don't just show up for the happy occasions,
mm,
show up for the messy ones because those are usually the ones that they need the support the most.
yeah. It is really so lonely because it's so hard yeah, there's like guilt and then also you just feel sad and you don't want to be the Debbie Downer in the group and everything, but it's so easy just to be like, leave me alone. Like don't bug me. But I love that you said keep showing up. I get text messages from one particular friend. I'm going to shout her out. She's awesome. Her name's Carrie. And she will just like on random days, like, hey, I'm just thinking about you. And what are you thinking about Brandon today? Like, that's my son's name. And I
Mhm.
just am like, that's so cool. And this is like 4 years later. She'll like ask me. And I think that's cool. Like, keep showing up. It means the world to us. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other piece of advice too would be, like, you have to give the lost parents grace.
Mm,
You know,
yes.
try not to be offended by the way they're grieving. Like, if they don't respond to your text message, like, don't be offended by that. We've just been paralyzed emotionally,
Hmm.
and most of the times we don't have anything to give. I feel like it takes every ounce of energy some days just to get out of bed
Yeah.
or to, like, take a shower.
Hmm.
There's no capacity to be able to manage, how others are feeling a lot of times. As terrible as that is, but it's so true.
Yeah. Did you find that you were given grace from certain people in your life that were just let you be what you were going through?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I like to think that I'm being shown grace, but I haven't asked, like,
Yeah.
if somebody else is feeling hurt or
Mm, yeah.
anything. I don't know if they would tell me that
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, and I think that's a good thing too, right? Because you're like, you don't want that guilt either. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I struggle a lot too, like, I'm a very, I would say, non-confrontational person.
Hmm.
So, even though, like, a lot of these tips, like, I wanna say to my family and friends directly, but I don't wanna,
Make them, yeah.
be confrontational.
Yeah.
Again, afraid of them not giving me the grace to just tell them flat out, like, "This is what I want from you.
Yeah.
This is what I need from you."
Yeah. Can I just add one thing to this tip? I think in the regards to grace, one of the things I can actually remember from my mother-in-law, I love my mother-in-law, Kathy, so much. She is amazing. And the one thing that I just remember, because we lost Brandon in July, and there was some activities or family dinner or something coming up, and she said, "You are invited to family dinner, and you can come if you'd like to. You don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. You can stay for 5 minutes and leave, or you don't even have to come at all." Like, it was giving that little bit of like leeway also. I mean, and not saying don't give us any expectations, but just like you can kind of do whatever you want. She kind of gave me permission. And I was grateful for that bit of grace. Does that make sense? Like, there was like
Yeah.
the I have no expectations for you because I realize this is really crappy. And so do what you want, come as you are. We will take you if you want to be here or not. Like, it was so kind and lovely of her to always just, and it was a long time. She always does that. It's like so awesome. So just a bit of advice that I found to be super helpful if you're
Yeah.
supporting a lost parent or two. So,
Yeah, it's great to have that.
yeah. Okay. What else? What other things?
Yeah, so life doesn't go on for us lost
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
Uh, One of the girls in my support group said, that this is a life sentence, and as rattling and terrifying as that sounds, it's so, so true.
Yeah.
We're just coming up on a year, and just knowing that, I still have a lifetime of
To
feeling this way
yeah, to
is
live this way.
there are no words. I mean, we're
Mhm.
never gonna be the same human beings after going through this. It changes you in ways you never thought possible. Everything is looked at differently after experiencing loss like this. It's really, really hard to translate, the magnitude of that loss to
Mhm.
others who haven't experienced it. You know, we may not be able to have even, relationships in the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I know I struggle, like, I don't even know how to talk to certain people anymore because it's so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Like, certain friends, like, I feel like are now strangers but certain strangers are now my friends.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
amazing, like, these women that I've come across, and, like, I feel so connected to them, like, in
Mhm.
an instant.
Yep.
It's amazing because they get it, you
They
know?
totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to say what your experience was, and they're like, "Uh-huh. Yep. Totally felt that way."
Yeah, there was a an Instagram account I came across, it's at Traveling with Grief,
Mm.
and I feel like they summarize it so well. I can read a little bit about,
Yes, please do.
one of the things, you know. She said, "There really are no words to describe the impact the death of my child had on me. If I had to describe it, though, it would be something like this. A huge bomb went off in the middle of my life. Everything ricocheted against each other. The dust and the debris touched and covered every single corner of my home, my heart, and my life. The effects of grief and trauma permeated and changed every single relationship, every interaction, every hobby, my career, my personality, my beliefs, my body, my health, and even how my brain processed big things, all the way down to how I felt walking down the street and trying to do mundane tasks. There is not an ounce of my life or leaf unturned that hasn't been touched and affected by the traumatic death of my child. So when you meet someone who has lost a child, just remember that it's a miracle that they are still standing some days, no matter how long it's been. People often say they could never survive the death of their child. And truthfully, they're right because no one does. A whole different person exists now in their place, and somehow they open their eyes every day.
That's, uh, like, such a vivid, like, description of what it feels like.
Yeah,
Completely. Yeah, because everything has been blown up, and you're a different person completely.
it really is. And another quote that I love that I came across was, "I may look the same to you on the outside, but inside I'm shattered, and the broken pieces will never fit the same way again."
Yeah. Yeah, it just yes. Like, was like, "Yes." I have gotten really close with some I call them we call ourselves the sad moms group because we're all lost moms, and we ended up doing a little kintsugi activity. Do you know what that is? It's where like it's a broken piece of pottery, and then you piece it back together with golden lacquer so that like the thing afterward is much more precious.
Oh,
It's so beautiful, but the
yeah.
thing is, like, when you, have these pieces you're trying to fit together, they don't fit together exactly right, and it just and you're like, "This looks kinda wonky, but it is what it is." Like, it is what it is, so, because yeah, those pieces just don't they're just not gonna be you again all the way it was
Yeah.
before. We're different, so it was
Yeah, and
beautiful.
it is just amazing, like, how it literally affects every part of
Mhm,
your life. Like, I
mhm.
mean, even, like, work, I remember going back to work was, like, so terrifying,
Yes.
and just all the feelings with that, and even now, it's like, you think you're like, "Is this really important? Like, what I'm doing important?" Like, it seems like nothing compared to what I've lost.
Right. It was a huge shift for me, and yes, what was important and what wasn't. Like, it was a lot of things that were like you said, as the dust and the debris settled, you're just like, "Oh, yeah, that was a big deal before, but it's not a big deal anymore." You just,
Yeah.
like, you just get a totally different perspective about your life and about the people around you. It's eye-opening, I think.
Yeah, it really is.
So, okay, next, bit of advice.
Yeah, and the needs of us lost parents are gonna change with time.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, I would say to pay attention to that and,
Mhm.
kind of be aware and read the room, so to speak.
Right?
Um,
Yes.
you know, it
Amen.
grief, it requires, I would say endless flexibility. Some days, you know, it'll seem like everything is okay with us. and I will say okay in
Mhm.
quotation marks.
Mhm. Mhm.
But other days, we're just complete broken messes, and that's just the way it is. But, even on those okay days, it still hurts,
Yeah.
and there's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't think about Everly and I don't think about what has happened to us.
This is a really good piece of advice that I just wanna emphasize along with you, Katie, that there's, like you mentioned a couple of times actually that this is like a roller coaster, right? I mean, there are times when you're just like, "La, la, la," going along, just, and you feel like you're okay and you're doing okay, and then all of a sudden that you're going down one of those crazy big hills and it's like you're not okay and it's not good, and to be flexible with that, especially if you're supporting somebody and just to kind of roll with it. Cuz yeah, you love them, right? You want to support them, and so just go with it. Go with where they're at.
Yeah, I just think of, like, the roller coaster, you're, like, on the tip of the high,
Yeah.
and then you're just you're,
Yep.
like,
I'm screwed.
way yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you never know when it's coming either.
Nope. Nope.
I
Not at
guess it's
all.
like one of those rides where you're, like, at the top and then they, like, drop you down,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you never know when the
The
drop is coming.
exactly. Yep. Yeah, this is Tower of Terror at Disneyland. Oh, wait, it's no
Yeah.
longer Tower of Terror, but do you know yeah, it's basically that where you're just like, "It's gonna happen anytime now," and so we are very unexpected sometimes. And grief is very unexpected and how it hits us and what that looks like, so be patient with us.
Yeah, be patient. And
Okay.
I think my last one is,
Yes.
like, most important. Talk about our babies.
Oh my god.
Include them.
Yes.
Say their names. Like, Everly is our life. Just like everyone else who has living children, what do they talk about? They talk about their kids.
They
Like,
totally do.
we wanna talk about our daughter too, and I'm sure you wanna talk about Brandon
Yep.
any chance you get.
Yep.
Like, even though, like, they're not here with us anymore, it doesn't mean they're not a part of our family.
Yep.
Like, they're always gonna be a part of our
Yep.
family, and that's never gonna change.
Mm-mm.
I remember, like, I think that this was, like, a couple months ago, there was, like, a friend of the family who had passed away, and, my mother-in-law, I love her dearly. I will put that out there, but she sent flowers to the funeral home, and, she did not put Everly's name on the card,
Mm, mhm.
and that, like that was like a dagger to my heart,
Yeah.
that she didn't include her, and then, we told her about it, and she was like, "Oh, thank you so much for reminding me, to include our sweet Everly." And I'm like, "You shouldn't be reminded. Like,
Yeah.
that's your granddaughter,
Yeah.
and, like, you should be including her."
Yeah.
So that's just like, you know, that's the support we need a lot of times.
Yeah. Like you okay, like that bomb, right? The bomb that just went off in your life was earth-shattering. And this baby that is so, so important to you, this child, this member of your family is so important to you. So it really does make a huge difference when you say their name, when you include them in our discussions and yeah, like cards. Cause I'm going to be completely honest. I sign my cards too, like with all of our family members' names, including Brandon's, just cause he's part of our family and I want people to remember that. And I know that everybody's different about that, but it really it's a really nice gesture to say, I remember who Everly is and who she is in my life as somebody who is supporting her mom or her dad. And yeah, it's just a nice little nod, but say their names. Say our babies' names. We love that.
Yeah.
You're going to be on our good side, I think. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like, so we actually moved not long after,
Mhm.
Everly had passed, and, you know, there were a lot of signs in this house of Everly, almost like she was already in this house,
Oh.
before we even moved. But we have this little nook, like, up above the steps, and I was like, "That's gonna be Everly's nook."
Oh, yeah.
And, I have it decorated, like, to a T. I have, the wood in her name,
Uh-huh.
like,
Just up
it's
there. Mhm.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, all her little outfits framed. So it's not like we clearly want to remember her,
Right.
and like
Yes.
we clearly want to honor her. So we want others to honor her too.
Yeah. And if this is your need for permission to talk about our kids, do it. Like, we'll tell you when we're not okay to talk about our kids for one reason or the other. But I would say this is permission to talk about our kids because they're so, so important to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what you did was a good little permission also. Like, yeah, she's part of our life.
Yeah. I mean, we have pictures of her all over the house.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Of
we
course we
have
want.
her Molly bear is sitting on the couch
Uh-huh.
in the living room, and we light a candle every night at dinner with her picture, so
Oh,
she has dinner with us. I mean, heck, we even take it to the restaurant with us when
yeah.
we go out. Like,
It's important to you. Like, she's important to you. So, yeah. And you gotta and I think those are some nice ways to, like, honor her as well. I think those are some really excellent, excellent thoughts for people that are supporting lost parents to consider because they're just little things. I mean, and really, like, it seems sometimes people think this is a big deal, like, to have to support somebody all the time. It's so draining, it's so hard. But really, just a text message is really nice. Hey, stop by and just like, "Hey, are you doing okay?" Or, "Hey, I brought you a Starbucks." That goes a long way, like, things like
mhm,
that. Or just like, "Hey, I was thinking about Everly today. Oh, I love that picture of Everly," or whatever happens to be. Just it does not take that much effort to help a friend out and remember
yeah,
their baby. Wouldn't you say, Katie?
yeah.
Any last bit of advice that you would like to share, Katie? Because that was awesome, like, super helpful, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would also, like, encourage support people to, find your own support
Yeah.
as well. Like you said, it's so draining supporting somebody on a full-time basis.
Yeah.
You're gonna need support too, and you have to find that. I mean, oftentimes I like to think, I go to support groups,
Yes.
for me as a lost mom. I feel like there almost needs to be a support group for the support people of the
Yeah.
lost parent.
Yeah. It's a lot of
So
work.
mhm,
Yeah, I mean, and that could be in a lot of different forms. Like that could be therapy, that could be just making sure that you're taking care of yourself as well. And yeah, there's a lot of ways to get that support. So,
yeah.
Katie, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure getting to know Everly and to hear her story. I feel like she is making an impact, and I really hope that others will listen to her birth story and then also this episode and take some golden nuggets of good advice and beautiful things that happened in her life. Thank you
Yeah,
so,
I
so
I
much.
remember, very few weeks after, we lost Everly, listening to this podcast on my couch in tears,
Yeah.
putting together a puzzle, and just hearing all the advice and all the support. It really makes a difference.
So thank you. Thank you. I just really can't tell you enough. Thank you for sharing your story and your advice because it's going to help somebody fortunately and unfortunately down the line who is going through the same thing too. So thank you again, Katie.
Yeah. Thank you.